Biodiversity Crisis by Kayla Hayes. Biodiversity. Biodiversity encompasses all life forms, ecosystems, and ecological processes. It is the basis of human survival and economic well-being. It provides humans with direct economic benefits and indirect ecosystem services. Some of these services include the regulation of climate, processing of nutrients, and pollution control. It also plays an important role in ecosystem function and stability. Over the years, the amount of global biodiversity has decreased, mainly because of human activity. If the current trends continue, about 20% of all species are expected to be lost within 30 years, while 50% or more are expected to be gone by the end of this century. Because of this and other findings regarding the rapid loss of species, biodiversity loss is now seen as a global crisis. This problem is expected to increase because of an increase in human population as well, which is projected to reach over 10 billion within the next 50 years. Biodiversity hotspots. Biodiversity hotspots, which are places that contain a lot of biodiversity and therefore require a high level of protection, are the most vulnerable to this crisis. Today, there are 34 of these hotspots that have been identified by Conservation International. Some of the hottest hotspots are Madagascar, the Philippines, the Caribbean, and Brazil's Atlantic forest. A portrait of biodiversity loss. The loss of biodiversity is a large-scale problem that is impacting a variety of areas and ecosystems. The social conditions that have led to this problem revolve around the increase in human population, which in turn has led to an increase in the demand of resources and the development of large industrial operations. One of the areas being affected by this problem are tropical rainforests, with the largest forest being in the Amazon basin. These forests are the planet's largest reservoir of biological diversity, consisting of more than half of its plant and animal species. Today, parts of these forests are cut down for wood or agricultural purposes, such as to create farms. Another area being affected are mangroves. They protect coastlines and provide a home for many different species, including coral reefs, but are being cut down for timber or drained for farming. In fact, approximately 26% of mangrove forests worldwide are degraded because of overexploitation for timber production. Seagrass meadows are being affected as well, due to the direct effects of destructive fishing practices and the indirect effects of the introduction of invasive species and water quality degradation by humans. Mountainous ecosystems such as the eastern Himalayas also contain rich biodiversity and are therefore becoming vulnerable. Because of these multiple areas being affected, not only will entire ecosystems be at risk, but human populations that rely on these areas will face problems as well. Human-caused climate change is another important dynamic to look at within this crisis. It has become a major threat to global biodiversity. The increases in temperature, rainfall, extreme weather events, and carbon dioxide concentrations all play a role in impacting biodiversity on the gene, species, and habitat diversity levels. Climate change can also disrupt certain ecosystem processes like carbon dioxide fixation and nitrification, which can cause ecosystem functions to be affected, functions that include providing goods and services for humans. This biodiversity crisis speaks to the relationship between humans and nature. It shows how humans have gained power over nature through exploitation, thus disrupting the balance among the natural world. Not only this, but the loss of biodiversity demonstrates how the relationship between human and non-human species has been transformed into speciesism, in which, according to green criminology, other species are seen as inferior to humans. This crisis can also be connected to the term ecocide, which is discussed in green criminology as well and is considered one of the ways to criminalize harmful actions against the environment. This term is used to refer to human activities that destroy the well-being and health of ecosystems and species, which can include humans themselves. Regarding biodiversity as a whole, green criminology takes a unique approach. It is not only concerned with legality and conservation, but is focused on a wider conception of harm that consists of harms derived from both legal and illegal interventions by humans. These interventions can include legal actions such as the exploitation of resources by industries and illegal actions such as illegal wildlife hunting and trading. This field also brings up the underlying conditions that lead to this loss of biodiversity. Particularly, it explains how commercial and industrial activities are often created and supported by nation-states and governments that prioritize the economy over the state of the environment, which ultimately threatens global biodiversity. As mentioned before, population is also seen as an underlying condition and plays an important role in biodiversity threats by using up more resources. And because of these resources being lost, large-scale uncontrolled migration can take place, in which populations are forced to migrate to protected areas such as forests, which in turn causes more deforestation and habitat destruction. This further destruction and degradation of areas like forests can affect
human and the biodiversity crisis. The Earth is facing a dual crisis of rapid climate change and unprecedented biodiversity loss. A recent UN report on biodiversity estimates the global rate of species extinction is currently tens to hundreds of times higher than it has averaged over the past 10 million years. The term biodiversity is from biological diversity, refers to the variety of life on Earth at all its levels, from genes to ecosystem, and can encompasses the evolutionary, ecological, and cultural processes that sustain life. Biodiversity boosts ecosystem productivity, where each species, no matter how small, all have an important role to play. For example, a larger number of plant species means a greater variety of crops. Greater species diversity ensures natural sustainability for all life forms. Humans affect biodiversity by their population numbers, use of land, and their lifestyles, causing damage to habitats for species. Through proper education and by demanding that government make decisions to preserve biodiversity, the human population will be able to sustain life on Earth longer. So how do humans benefit from biodiversity? Biodiversity plays a crucial role in human nutrition through its influence on world food production, as it ensures the sustainable productive of soils and provide the genetic resources for all crops, livestock, and marine species harvested for food. If we lose biodiversity underpins the health of the planet and has a direct impact on all our lives. Put simply, reduce biodiversity means millions of people face a future where food supplies are more vulnerable to pests and disease, and where fresh water is in irregular or short supply for humans that is worrying.